Alright guys, this is going to be a video explaining like how I got into bodybuilding, how I got into music and everything like that. This might turn into two parts, depending on how lengthy this video gets, but I'm going to do my best to try and keep it relatively, make it a decent time so you guys don't get too bored from my story, but I feel like it's a pretty good story to share with you guys. And then if you guys are wondering right now, I'm out at this local park where there's just a lot of animals out here, and it really relaxes me and puts me at ease. I get away from the city life, just all the chaos out there, so I figured this would be a good place and a good day to tell my story. So I'm actually being watched right now. There's a couple deer by me. They know I got some goodies in my backpack. But so anyway, go back to the beginning. The way it all started for me was I grew up in a city called Warren, Michigan, and I was there for up until about, I think I was about around 6 years old. And along the way, the most influential point of my life, it came from my dad ended up inheriting this muscle car from it was a friend of the family, and her younger son, I think he was 18 years old or something like that. Well, he was out hanging out with the wrong people, ended up getting into a car accident. He ended up dying. So she ended up, after it was all said and done, she got over, the grieving period and things like that. She knew my dad was, an excellent car person, just, all around, just really hardworking type of dude. He was just good with automobiles and just everything my dad did. He was amazing at it. So my dad ended up, she wanted him to take on the project because he had all the parts and stuff, and he wanted this car to be built to a certain specification, color, everything like that. So my dad ended up taking on this project, and this is where it changed my life and made me the person I am today. And I may get a little emotional when I talk about this story because it's everything to me. It's who I am today. It's because of my dad. But and not many people can say that they were inspired, and they got all the motivation from their dad, or their parents for that matter. So my dad I remember as a kid just going into that garage. It didn't matter what day it was, how tired my dad was. He was out there doing everything he could to get this car built up. He spent about 2 years on it and never outsourced any work, did everything himself. And that right there was what really pushed me and motivated me to be, the kind of person I am today, which all of you people can be too. So fast forward, we get to, we move out of Warren, Michigan. We move into a small area near Lake St. Clair called Harrison Township, and we lived there for a few years. And my dad was a bass guitar player. He ended up, they had a little local band. They jammed. They eventually built like a practice room in our basement and stuff like that. And my Uncle Frank, he was an incredible guitar player. Actually, I'll probably put a link in the description. Check him out. The guy is, you'll see. But so I used to watch them practice all the time, and I really got just moved by just that kind of practice and that kind of work ethic behind that too. So that was like the beginning of me wanting to get into music and learn how to play the guitar, or an instrument for that matter. And so I think maybe a year or two go by and things aren't going too well between my parents. So long story short, they get a divorce. Well, I was always a straight A student. I was student of the month. I just, I was kind of like the goody-goody, where it just, I always made sure that I did everything right in my life. And I'm hearing stuff. But so I always made sure that I did, the right things in life. And where was I? I just lost my train of thought. So, oh yeah, my parents get a divorce, and I started to just slip. I wasn't that straight A student anymore. Just that had a really huge impact on me It happened when I was maybe about 7, 8 years old, around there. And probably deep down, I was just so hurt by it, and I didn't know how to take it. So, you know, you start kind of not caring as much about what you were doing, and I started getting into the, you know, C minuses, D's and E's type territory. And then eventually, I think I was around 9 or 10 years old, and my dad and I, we went and we saw that movie Ace Ventura, and the band Cannibal Corpse was in there. You guys know what I'm talking about. When I saw that, that really was what made me want to pick up the guitar, because I mean, it was one thing to see rock and roll and stuff like that that my dad performed, and you know, the rest of the guys, but just seeing that, and it's just, I wanted to play the guitar like that. I wanted to go fast, you know, and it had that aggression to it. So kind of like relating to kind of what I was going through when my parents got separated, when they separated. So my dad ended up buying me a guitar when I was about 10 years old, and at that time, check this out. Oh, they're swatting each other. So if you guys remember Beavis and Butthead back in the day on MTV, back when MTV actually was a music television show, that show, I saw Metallica on there too, and I seen like the Slayer videos, and that was like the beginning stuff that I started to learn how to play, because it was a little more attainable. I mean, don't get me wrong, that stuff was definitely challenging, but it seemed like it was a little bit more approachable to play. So just hours and hours of playing. You know, when I'd come home from school, just spent just hours in my room just trying to get good at stuff, and I never took any guitar lessons. I learned everything on the spot. So, you know, a lot of people in the comments have always said too, like, man, you pick from your arm, and you know, too much, man, relax. And I actually learned that from watching Jeff Hanneman play, because he always played that way. So I'm like, all right, it works for him, so I'm gonna try and make it work for me, and that's what I did, and it works to this day. So you know, a couple years go by, my dad's seen that I'm doing really well with the guitar, and then all of a sudden, he didn't really know I was listening to death metal. I almost didn't want to tell him, because, you know, my dad, I remember he used to make comments when Beavis and Butthead would be on, and some of those death metal videos would come on, and, oh, that stuff's terrible, you know, there ain't no talent in any one of those guys. It's like, I almost felt like I'd be ashamed, you know, to let my dad know that I was listening to that kind of music, and I was hugely inspired and influenced by it. So he didn't really know, but then a few years go by, and I think I'm into my 5th year maybe of playing guitar. I'm about 14 years old or something like that, and we're at Guitar Center, and back then Guitar Center had like the best stuff. I mean, you used to walk in Guitar Center and there'd be USA Jacksons, just top of the line stuff that, you know, you could grab off the rack and play. Well, there was a USA Jackson Randy Rhoads a little bit further up the top of the guitar rack, and it had a price tag. It was like, you know, $2,000 or something. So, you know, can you hand me that? And I want to play it. I ended up playing this guitar, and my dad didn't really see me play in quite a while. It was quite a couple of years or something like that. So pull the guitar down, and at that time I was learning Cannibal Corpse, and I was listening to Suffocation, Vader, Mortician, just all this insane stuff. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm just shredding on this guitar for like an hour, and my dad's just like, he's just blown away by it, and he's like, Kev, man, you've really come a long way. He's like, I'm really proud of you. I'm like, you know, thanks. And so whatever, I have to give the guitar back to the guy who works there, and I sadly see him put it back on that rack, and I gotta walk away. Well, we go back the next week, because this is what we did. You know, between my dad and I, we went to the guitar stores, and we did stuff outside. We fished and did all those things. And so we go back to the guitar store, and I look up there, and there's a price tag of $9.99 on this Jackson USA Randy Rhoads. So I asked the guy, I said, you know, is that correct? Something doesn't seem right on that guitar. And he goes, actually, I have another tag right here that I have to put on there. And he showed me, and it was a tag for $4.99. So this guitar, it didn't have a chance to get scratched up by everybody, you know, from their belt buckles and their jackets and things like that. So this thing was like excellent to mint condition, just perfect, you know, immaculate. So he grabs it down. I start playing again for like another half hour, and you know, my dad's walking by and he sees that price tag on it. I'm like, Dad, I can't put this guitar down, man. This thing is just awesome. He's like, yeah, maybe someday, Kev. And I'm like, so it crushed me to give that guitar back to that guy. So you hang it back up there and whatever. So my dad comes and picks me up the next weekend, and I jump in the truck, and he goes, hey Kev, I got something in the back seat for you might want to check out. And I just like, I knew, and I'm like, what is it? You know, I'm like trying to, it's one of those things. So I go back there, and it's that USA Jackson, and it's in that Jackson case. My dad was that proud of me for just all that work, all those hours spent in that bedroom just playing guitar, just trying to get as good as I could. So around that age, this is where we'll go into the next part. So actually I'm going to cut it right here, and this would be part 1. So join me for part 2. I'll talk to you guys soon.